In the quiet town of Oak Ridge, Louisiana, where the humid air carried whispers of forgotten dreams and the Mississippi River hummed its eternal lullaby, a man named John Neely Kennedy stood at the edge of a makeshift stage, his heart pounding like a war drum. It was supposed to be a joke, a cruel twist of fate orchestrated by old high school buddies who remembered him as the awkward kid with the stutter and a love for books over ball games. "Come on, Johnny," they'd teased over beers at the local dive bar. "Sing for us at the annual talent show. It'll be hilarious." Little did they know, or perhaps they didn't hope to bury him in ridicule, that this invitation would unearth a voice silenced for decades, transforming a punchline into a triumph that would echo far beyond the flickering lights of the community hall. John Neely Kennedy wasn't always the polished figure the world knew today. Born in 1951 to a family of modest means in Centreville, Mississippi, he grew up in the shadow of his father's unfulfilled aspirations. A man who toiled in the fields by day and strummed a battered guitar by night, dreaming of stages he never reached. John's childhood was marked by isolation. His stutter made him the target of playground taunts, and he found solace in the pages of history books and the melodies of old folk songs his mother hummed while hanging laundry. "Words are your weapon, son," his father would say, but John preferred the safety of silence. By high school, he'd buried his love for music deep inside, convinced that vulnerability only invited pain. He channeled his energy into academics, earning scholarships that carried him to Vanderbilt University and later Oxford, where he honed his intellect into a sharp blade. Politics became his stage, where rhetoric replaced rhythm, and he rose to become Louisiana's junior senator, known for his folksy wit and unyielding principles. But beneath the suits and speeches, the boy who once sang to the stars lingered, wounded and waiting. The talent show was Oak Ridge's yearly ritual, a blend of amateur magic tricks, off-key karaoke, and heartfelt dances that drew the whole town together under one roof. This year, the theme was Hidden Talents, a fitting irony for John. His old friends, a ragtag group of mechanics and teachers who'd never left town, had signed him up without his knowledge, framing it as a surprise reunion gag. When John got the call from the organizer, his first instinct was to laugh it off and decline. At 74, with the Senate seat and a legacy to protect, why risk embarrassment? But something stirred in him, a flicker of that long-ago fire. His wife, Becky, saw it in his eyes during dinner that night. "John, you've spent your life fighting for others' voices," she said softly, squeezing his hand. "Maybe it's time to find yours again." Their marriage, built on 40 years of shared struggle, from financial hardships early on to the emotional toll of public life, had taught him resilience. Becky, a former teacher with a gentle strength, had always been his anchor, reminding him that true courage wasn't in the spotlight but in facing the shadows. As the days ticked down to the event, doubts crept in like kudzu vines overtaking an abandoned barn. John practiced in secret, dusting off his father's old guitar in the attic. The strings bit into his fingers, unfamiliar after years of disuse, and his voice cracked on the high notes of the House of the Rising Sun, a song that mirrored his own tale of loss and redemption. Memories flooded back, the time in college when he'd auditioned for a folk band, only to freeze under the judgmental stares, his stutter betraying him mid-verse, or the nights in Washington, D.C., where exhaustion from endless debates left him humming alone in his office, wondering what might have been. Challenges mounted. A viral video of a senator singing could backfire, painting him as frivolous in a world of serious crises. His staff advised against it, fearing political fallout. Even his daughter, Carolyn, called from her home in Baton Rouge, worried. "Dad, what if they laugh? You've worked so hard to be taken seriously." Her words stung, echoing his own fears, but they also ignited a resolve. This wasn't about politics, it was about reclaiming a piece of himself that had been mocked into hiding. The night of the talent show arrived under a canopy of stars, the community hall packed with folding chairs and the scent of popcorn and anticipation. Families chatted animatedly, kids fidgeting in their seats, while John's friends smirked from the back row, phones ready to capture the hilarious moment. As his name was called, John stepped onto the stage, the spotlight harsh against his lined face. The crowd murmured some in recognition of the senator, others in confusion. He adjusted the microphone, his hand steady despite the storm inside. "Folks," He began with his signature drawl, "I was asked to sing tonight as a bit of a joke, but life's too short for regrets, ain't it?" A ripple of laughter, then silence as he strummed the first chord. His voice, rich and gravelly like aged bourbon, filled the room. There was a house in New Orleans they called the Rising Sunday. The notes wove through the air, carrying the weight of his father's dreams, his mother's lullabies, and his own buried sorrows. Midway through, emotion cracked his composure. A tear escaped as he sang of ruin and hope, and the audience leaned in, transfixed. What started as polite applause erupted into a standing ovation by the end. Judges, a panel of local celebrities including the mayor and a retired music teacher, were stunned. "That wasn't just singing," one whispered later, "that was soul-bearing." Against all odds, John's performance earned him a spot in the regional finals. But more than that, it sparked a chain of resolutions. His old friends approached afterward, sheepish and apologetic. "We didn't know, John," one admitted. "We thought it'd be fun, but damn, you moved us." Forgiveness came easily. Job hugged them, turning rivals into allies once more. News spread like wildfire. Local papers picked it up, then national outlets, framing it as a senator's surprising vulnerability in a divided era. Social media buzzed with clips, inspiring others to share their hidden talents. For John, the real victory was personal. Phone calls poured in from constituents, not about bills or debates, but about their own stories of silenced dreams. One young man, battling a stutter like John's, wrote, "You showed me it's okay to try." In the weeks that followed, John balanced his Senate duties with rehearsals for the finals, finding joy in the duality of his life. Becky stood by him, their bond deepened by this shared adventure. Carolyn flew in to watch, her pride erasing her earlier doubts. The challenges hadn't vanished. Critics still sniped, calling it a publicity stunt, but John met them with grace, using the platform to advocate for arts education and mental health support in schools. "Everyone's got a song in them," he told reporters. "Sometimes, it just takes a joke to let it out." The regional event came and went. He didn't win the top prize, but that wasn't the point. He won back his voice, proving that redemption isn't about perfection but persistence. As the curtains closed on that chapter, John Neely Kennedy returned to Washington with a renewed spirit, his guitar now a fixture in his office. The experience reminded him and the world that beneath titles and triumphs, we're all just folks chasing wholeness. In a time of noise and division, his story whispered a timeless truth: vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the bridge to connection. So, if life's handed you a joke, sing through it. You might just find your spot in the spotlight, and inspire others to claim theirs too.